Real-life sightings of Chernobyl creatures. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and intriguing places on Earth, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. We all know about the Chernobyl disaster, right? Back in 1986, an explosion at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant changed the world forever. It was one of the worst nuclear disasters in history, leading to massive evacuations and leaving an entire region abandoned. But here's where things get really interesting. Over the years, there have been countless reports, legends, and even eyewitness accounts of unusual creatures emerging from this irradiated zone. From mutated animals to mythical beasts, the stories are as chilling as they are fascinating. So, the big question is, are these sightings just myths and folklore, or is there some truth lurking in the shadows of Chernobyl? Grab your snacks, settle in, and let's explore this mystery together. The shadow of Chernobyl. First off, let's set the scene and take a trip back in time. The disaster unfolds on April 26, 1986, during what should have been a routine safety test. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. The explosion was massive, tearing through the reactor's core and releasing huge amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere. Firefighters and plant workers heroically battled the blaze, many unaware of the deadly radiation they were exposed to. Their bravery is undeniable, but the cost was enormous. Impact on the land. The radioactive cloud didn't just stay put, it spread over large parts of Europe. Maps from that time show the radioactive plume drifting across Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, and even reaching far-off countries like Sweden and the UK. The zone left behind. In the aftermath, the authorities established the exclusion zone, a 30-kilometer radius around the reactor. Over 100,000 people were evacuated from their homes. Entire towns like Pripyat became ghost cities, frozen in time. Radiation and mutation. Alright, let's talk about radiation and mutations, but don't worry, we'll keep it simple. Understanding radiation. Radiation is energy that travels through space or materials. High levels of certain types of radiation can damage or even kill living cells. The radiation released during the Chernobyl disaster was ionizing radiation, which can break chemical bonds and damage DNA. Mutation mechanics. When DNA is damaged by radiation, it can lead to mutations. High doses of radiation increase the chance of harmful mutations, which can lead to health problems or physical abnormalities. Since the disaster, scientists have been studying the plants and animals in the exclusion zone. They've found some genetic mutations, like changes in coloration, size, or fertility, but nothing like the sci-fi monsters you might imagine. The return of wildlife. Here's where things get really fascinating. With humans out of the picture, nature started to reclaim the land in a big way. Nature's resilience. Without us around to interfere, wildlife began to flourish. Forests expanded, and animals moved back into areas that were once bustling with people. Population growth. Species like wolves, deer, lynx, wild boar, and even bears have seen population increases. Some studies suggest that animal numbers are similar to, or even greater than, those in uncontaminated reserves. A new ecosystem. The absence of humans allowed ecosystems to develop without our influence. Buildings became homes for animals, and streets turned into pathways for wildlife. It's both eerie and awe-inspiring. Tales from the exclusion zone. Now, let's dive into the mysterious sightings that have captured imaginations worldwide. Eyewitness accounts. Over the years, locals, workers, and some adventurous tourists have shared stories of strange encounters. People have reported seeing animals that don't quite match any known species. Common sightings. There are tales of animals with albinism, like pure white moose or deer. Others have mentioned unusually large animals or creatures exhibiting strange behaviors not typical for their species. The black stork phenomenon. One interesting case is the black stork. This rare bird, once nearly extinct in the area, has made a comeback. With its large wingspan and dark plumage, it's easy to see how it might be mistaken for something more mysterious or even ominous. The legend of the black bird of Chernobyl. Speaking of mysterious birds, have you heard about the black bird of Chernobyl? This one's straight out of a spooky legend. Origins of the legend. Before the disaster, some workers at the plant reported seeing a huge dark creature with glowing red eyes flying over the reactor. After the explosion, these stories gained traction, and the creature became known as the Black Bird of Chernobyl. It's eerily similar to the Mothman legend from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where a winged creature was reportedly seen before a tragic bridge collapse. Analyzing the myth. So, what's the deal? It's possible that stress, fear, and anxiety played tricks on people's minds. In high-stress situations, our perceptions can get a little fuzzy. Evidence and skepticism. There's no concrete evidence of the black bird. Most experts believe it's a mix of urban legend and the human tendency to connect unexplained phenomena to major events. Aquatic anomalies. Time to take a plunge into the watery depths. Giant catfish of Chernobyl. Visitors and workers have reported seeing enormous catfish in the cooling ponds near the reactor. Some of these fish are said to be as big as boats. Before you get too freaked out, catfish can naturally grow quite large, especially when they have ample food and no predators. Radiation effects on aquatic life. While these fish may have higher levels of radiation in their bodies, studies show that they've adapted over generations. Mutations are minimal, and they seem to lead normal fishy lives. Insect mutations. Let's zoom in on the tiny creatures that often go unnoticed. Butterflies and bees. Scientists have observed butterflies with wing deformities or unusual color patterns. Some bees have mutations that could affect their ability to pollinate, which is crucial for plant life. Scientific observations. Mutation rates in insects are higher in heavily contaminated areas. However, insects reproduce rapidly, and natural selection helps weed out harmful mutations over time. The wolves of Chernobyl. Back on land, let's talk about the apex predators roaming the forests. Predator population boom. Wolves have been thriving in the exclusion zone. With no hunting and plenty of prey, their numbers have increased significantly. Behavioral changes. There are reports of wolves showing less fear of humans or exhibiting unusual behaviors. This could be due to the lack of negative interactions with people over the past few decades. Myths versus reality. Time to separate fact from fiction. Debunking the myths. While radiation can cause mutations, the idea of giant, monstrous creatures is more sci-fi than reality. Most mutations are subtle and don't lead to drastic physical changes. Influence of media. Movies, TV shows, and video games have played up the idea of Chernobyl mutants. It's great for storytelling but can blur the lines between what's real and what's fiction. Human psychology. We humans love a good mystery. Stories of strange creatures tap into our curiosity and our fear of the unknown. Interviews with experts. Let's hear from the folks who have been studying the zone firsthand. Conversations with scientists. Biologists and ecologists working in the exclusion zone report that, overall, wildlife is flourishing. They've observed normal behaviors, healthy breeding populations, and ecosystems that are surprisingly robust. First-hand accounts from researchers. Many scientists describe the zone as a unique glimpse into how nature can rebound when left alone. Perspectives on conservation. Experts consider the exclusion zone a valuable area for studying ecology, evolution, and the impacts of human absence on the environment. The positive side of isolation. Believe it or not, there's a silver lining to this tragic story. Wildlife sanctuary. The exclusion zone has become an accidental wildlife sanctuary. Endangered species have found a haven here, and biodiversity has increased. Ecotourism and ethical considerations. Chernobyl has become a tourist destination. While tourism can bring awareness, it's important to ensure it doesn't harm the delicate ecosystems that have developed. Future of the zone. Some propose designating the area as a formal nature reserve or wildlife refuge. Reflecting on the evidence. While the stories of mutant creatures are more myth than reality, the real situation is just as fascinating. Lessons learned. The Chernobyl disaster serves as a reminder of the potential consequences of nuclear energy mishandled. But it also shows us how life can adapt and thrive even in the most challenging conditions. Final thoughts. Instead of fixating on scary myths, let's appreciate the real wonders happening in Chernobyl. It's a powerful example of how nature can recover and a reminder of our responsibility to protect the environment. What do you think? Have you heard any other stories about Chernobyl's wildlife? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspectives. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of Chernobyl. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing content. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.